This is a meeting of the Athens City Council. It's Monday, May 5th, 2014. We're going to begin this evening with a public hearing regarding community development block grant. And Mayor Weil, you want to start us?
I'll turn it over to Glenn. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Glenn Trippin. I work with Talking Athens Community Action. The city is conducting its public hearing number 1 tonight, which is a necessary and required part of the application process for a CDBG grant here in the city. We have an agenda here that we've passed out. The CDBG program, just very briefly, is federal funding that comes through the state from HUD on its way to entitled cities and counties in the state to perform community development projects such as infrastructure, streets, sidewalks improvements, fire facility improvements, things like that. The city is eligible to apply this year for 2 different programs. One is the allocation program, which is a program that is naturally comes to the city each year as part of a formula. The money that comes to the city is part of a formula. The amount of funding available this year is $75,000. This amount, unfortunately, has decreased over the years a little bit due to a decrease in the federal budget for block grant projects, but fortunately the city is still getting a little bit of that. This program used to be called the Formula Program. I don't know if anyone is that familiar with it, but it used to be called the Formula. It's now called the Allocation Program. I just discussed some of the eligible activities such as infrastructure, whether it be sewer facility improvements, water facility improvements, streets, sidewalks, even parks and recreation is an eligible activity under the CDBG program. And like I said, the amount of funds available is $75,000, and the city will apply for that funding this year. The application is due June 20th. The other program that we'd like to speak about very briefly this evening is called the Critical Infrastructure Program. It is also a form of CDBG funding. However, it is competitive statewide. So unlike the allocation program, it automatically comes to the city, or it does not automatically come to the city, I'm sorry. It's awarded to the city only if the city successfully applies for the funding. So it's a competitive application. It's statewide. The budget for that statewide is about $3 million, I do believe. So and grant amounts are $300,000. So the city could undertake a major project with this to perform enhancements to whether it be the infrastructure or the streets or the sidewalks, things of that nature. Eligible activities for that program are the same exact for the allocation. It's the same exact amount of activities, same kind of activities. It's just a competitive set-aside funding stream of the block grant, and it's administered by the Ohio Development Services Agency in Columbus. So those are the 2 major programs that the city intends to apply for this year. Community Action is very proud to be partnering with the city to help apply for those funds, and if awarded, administer those. So we're looking very forward to applying. We'll have another public hearing. That'll be a more specific public hearing that will occur on June 2nd. And what we'll do at that meeting is, after the city identifies what type of activity it would like to undertake, we'll identify that to the community and to the public, and we'll announce how much funding we intend to go after and talk about a project in more specific detail at that time. So,
let me add a few things. First of all, the $75,000 is not totally to any particular project. A portion of it goes to fair housing, education, some to administration. In the past, I think this last round, we're putting in towards the house on Richland Avenue to make it habitable for low and moderate income, with the idea we'll be having Athens Metropolitan Housing manage the house. In the past, we've done everything from replacing the traffic lights. I think in Able Administration, they did the series of traffic light replacements for the LED systems over time for energy savings. So there's a spectrum of things that can be done with this. Again, the hope is, the concept right now is we might roll both of them in together and see if it makes the critical infrastructure system a little bit more competitive. But as I say, this is the point of the public hearing, is to get input from the public and council and anybody else. And I guess
The critical infrastructure program does require a match. The more match that can be provided for the grant application, the better. Makes it more competitive at the state level. It's a very competitive grant, and it's the state mainly sets it aside for use on single component, badly needed infrastructure projects. So, question.
Is there a minimum match? So is it an 80-20 or?
They don't define a minimum match. All I know is that the more the better. It'd be nice to provide maybe a 50% match. I think that would help provide a competitive grant application. But it's not necessary to have a 50% match by any means.
And does in-kind, can that be
In-kind
part match?
can absolutely be counted, yes. Yes, yes indeed.
And actually, we're going to pass the bucket around for you guys, but we hold off to the second public hearing.
Such as if the city provides its own engineering services, that could be
In kind.
that could be in kind, absolutely. So that can all be calculated and quantified.
And am I correct in remembering that one of the projects that we mentioned before might be the depot's?
Lift station, yes.
Lift station.
Yes.
We're focusing on that because we know the age of it and how critical it is for a component for our infrastructure in terms of sanitary sewer.
And so that helps provide services to most of the west side, south side, the hospital, so a significant portion of the town.
Yeah, hospital, little things like that.
The program has to meet one of two national objectives, and that is, one, to benefit an LMI community. And LMI is an acronym that's for low to moderate income. A house that is low to moderate income is considered to be at 80% of the area median income or less. If it's not occurring, if the project is not proposed to occur in an LMI neighborhood, it's possible that the piece of infrastructure we'd like to improve be certified as blighted or in a general state of deterioration. And that can be also used to qualify the projects as being eligible. So, however, I will say that the two census, the block groups that lift station is in over on Depot Street are very high LMI, I believe high 60s or low 70s, and the threshold is 51%. So not only will it benefit an LMI neighborhood, as defined by the 2000 census, unfortunately, the state is still using the old census. As long as, so it'll benefit an LMI community and it'll be eliminating slum and blight. So we're hopefully hitting both of the national objectives of the program. So hopefully I'm optimistic we'll have a very competitive grant application.
And we're focusing on that, but it's not exclusive. We see something else that really needs a lot of work, we'll go with it. But right now, that's where it's done and narrowed down. We're in the chute to say how this is going to work. Again, we've got about a month to get this nailed down. A little bit more than a month.
A little bit more than a month.
Other questions?
And is there a specific project idea for the allocation Formula One as there was last year for the
Actually,
cost
the intention is to roll it into the critical infrastructure and use that as part of the match and leverage it. I believe it can be done. That's what I've been told.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
they're kind of both
Roll the two
yeah.
together. Okay.
Yeah.
The more sources of matching funds the city can identify and use in the project, the better the grant application will score at the state.
Okay.
Would public input come to you, to your office, Glenn? Or to
Yes,
the mayor's office?
absolutely, yep.
Okay.
You can take the public input, any questions, comments,
And could you let us know how to reach you?
absolutely.
I mean,
We can,
on the air?
You can always send it to me and I'll pass it along.
Okay,
But
okay.
It's not a big deal. It's at HapCap, so
Okay.
you can find them on the web and give them 2 cents.
okay.
Okay.
Anything from the public? Questions? I do have a sign-in sheet here. I see you've been passing one around too, so we seem to have a duplication on that. But I think Sarah's the only one here who hasn't filled this one out, so we can work around that. Other questions from City Council?
I don't recall, do we have a projected cost estimate for the lift station project?
I don't remember what it is. I know there's one that's been bandied about. It's at least 300, but I don't know how much it is in total. I should remember that, but I don't. Sorry.
So somewhere in the ballpark of this
Yeah.
grant application amount.
Yeah, and I suspect it may be even more than that, but I remember the kick around was it's at least 300, and they have, once you start, you'll have to look at the design engineering and then the configuration. It's probably not that much different than what's going to be there right now, but hopefully a little bit more efficient and a better capacity just in case. And having worked over in the life science building over there, I know occasionally it does smell, so.
We did visit the site on our
You did?
recent infrastructure tour with
Okay.
Andy Stone, so we got a little bit more background on the facility, and it does indeed seem like a critical need
Yes.
for improvement.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Okay, we're done then, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Why don't you grab Sarah to sign this out, and we'll make copies of it for you, okay?
Okay.
How's that sound?
That's good.
We'll move on to our regular agenda. We have all council members present, so that's certainly a quorum. Our first issue is to accept the minutes of the regular session held on April
We'll get a copy
21st,
for you, okay?
2014. I have a motion to accept those minutes.
I make the motion. I'll second.
Second? All those in favor of accepting the minutes from the regular session from April 21st signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, the minutes are accepted. We do have some council members who have some communications they'd like to share. Michelle, Kathy,
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to remind everyone of the public hearing that is going to be held at the community center from 3 to 6 p.m. On Thursday, May 8th, this Thursday. And this regards the plans thus far for the US 33 East State Street interchange discussions. There's been meetings with representatives of ODOT as well as the consulting firm and city officials discussing. So we're really encouraging the public to come to this meeting. There will be a specific presentation at 5:30 that will formally explain where we are to this point and what we're looking for. So the consultants, the city, and ODOT are looking for public comment and discussion at this point. So we really hope, we know that this affects just about everyone in Athens and the region. So we really need folks to come and speak at this meeting.
Thank you. Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. On another issue that affects just about all of us in the community, I just like to refer to a resolution that City Council passed on April 7th, and this was in support of Issue 1, in which we urged Ohio voters to support for Issue 1. And when we brought it up at the time, we mentioned some of the local projects that were made possible because of the monies from this program that has existed since 1987. Some of the improvements that have happened to the Athens community include our Carpenter Street improvements, Columbus Road and Lancaster Road, East Union Jeff Hill, the East State Street paving, Elliotsville Road rebuild, middle school area. Another is the North Court Street infrastructure improvements, which made quite a difference to our downtown area this past year. And West Union Street area paving and sanitary relief sewer. So this will be an issue on the ballot tomorrow, and City Council has come out solidly in favor of Issue 1.
Thank you. Member Cochran.
I just wanted to share an announcement that if there are members of the community who are interested in electrical aggregation but did not have the opportunity to attend the public meeting last week at the community center, there will be another public meeting held on Thursday in Amesville from 7 to 9 at the Amesville Grange. So there'll be opportunities to ask questions and provide input to the plan as it stands thus far. There's also information available on the city's website and the county's website.
Somebody else who needs to speak? No? Okay. Reports and communications from other elected officials. Mayor Wyatt?
Well, you covered two of the ones I had mentioned. Two other ones, though, of course, is actually there's the, what is it, Walk with the Doc organization. This is the Live Healthy Appalachia. We're sponsoring, I guess. The city is sponsoring a Walk with the Doc this Saturday, May 10th at 8:30. It's at the Athens City Pool Pavilion. Anyone can attend. I guess you walk with the doc and he'll take your temperature or something like that, I guess, or at least ask questions and get a good, healthy walk. Since the city is sponsoring it, it was brought up as staff by my human resource director that it would be nice to have members of the city there. So I volunteered, so I was hoping some of the council members may be interested in it. Of course, it conflicts with the other event that is occurring, which is the Athens Bike Rodeo, which will occur, let's see, that's at 9 a.m. to noon at the community center parking lot underneath the solar panels. This is where everybody can learn how to bike safely, and I think they usually pass out a few helmets for the kids. It gives a chance for everybody to learn how to follow the rules of the road. So there are two events coming Saturday at that point. Again, in terms of issue one, I think the total for the city was $3.6 million that we've gotten over the years. Again, we're just starting at round 29 in terms of the process. There are 19 districts out there in the public works system. So every system has a little bit different criteria. Our criteria, I actually made copies of it if you're interested. It goes with the integrating, I'm part of the integrating committee on this, where we sit down and hash out what criteria to work with. And it comes down to a point system where you get a total, at max you can get a total of, it looks like 580 points. Usually the set cutoff is about 460. It's pretty competitive in terms of numbers, in terms of structures, lifespan of structures, whether you've leveraged other dollars. As I've made copies for you so you know how the parts work. But it's not just pull the money out of your pocket and throw it at anybody. We have gotten some. We've lost a few over the time. We're at round 29. If you look at the list there, we don't have 29 of them in the queue. But other cities, villages have gotten it. The county engineer over the past has usually done roads piece by piece. We target about $400,000 because you lose about 50 points if you go over $400,000. So it takes you out of the running. It's grant money. There's also a loan portion of it too, a zero-interest loan portion. So we can always go aim at that too if need be. Most of the time we don't go with that route. It depends on what we're trying for at the time. And I say it's important to us because you can just, it was Lancaster last year, it was Carpenter Street and Court Street intersection the year before. I think it's West Union this year is for infrastructure. It augments what we do, it spreads the dollars further. Usually I'm not worried about not passing, but again, I know there's some misconceptions out there of how it's working and how it works. And you're welcome to, as I say, to any of the integrating committee criteria. They did switch one out just recently, which had to do the indebtedness or whether the taxes within the county for how much we're putting forward. It makes us a little bit of a disadvantage, but the fact is there was, the people who voted against that particular criteria were in the minority, so that criteria dropped out at least this cycle. And every cycle changes a little bit. Not radically, though. So if you have any questions, you can let me know, or you can see me walking on the back path of the dock.
Thank you, Mayor. Law Director Lang?
No report, Mr. President.
Any other council members think of anything they need to say?
Vote tomorrow.
Yeah, vote.
Vote.
Yes, but in your own precinct, we're going to have a precinct right here.
Two precincts up here.
Excuse me?
Two precincts up here.
Two precincts up here.
Yeah.
Okay. Communications are complete at this moment. We'll move ahead with ordinances for third reading. Ordinance 2614, an ordinance closing a portion of Court Street between State and Carpenter on Tuesday, July 8th, 2014, from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. for Rally North America and the City of Athens, Ohio fundraiser. Introduced by Councilmember Patton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt 2614.
Second.
We've discussed this event pretty well over the last month or so, and it's a fundraising opportunity for a national organization rally for North America. And we're going to close Court Street for a brief portion of the morning for them to begin their rally and then move on farther west, is how this works. It goes from city to city, and they look for historic communities with brick streets. So we qualify.
Definitely.
Council members, all those in favor of adopting ordinance 2614 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 2914, an ordinance confirming the dedication of streets in the University Estates area, introduced by Councilmember Fall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt 2914.
Second.
This is the end process of a very long process that we have done in the city. Before we vote on it, I would like to extend council and the city's thanks to the many, many people on city council, within the city administration, who worked with many of the citizens in that area to have this process be relatively painless and straightforward as anything could be in the University Estates area. I also like to say thank you to the people who volunteered their time on the board that reviewed the assessments that went out for this also. This is a great example of how many hands make process and progress in the city. So, Paul.
Oh,
I would like to also thank the clerk of council, who had to deal with a blizzard of certified mail coming back and forth endlessly for the past, I don't know how many months.
Yeah, thank you.
all those in favor of adoption of ordinance 2914 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. This ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 3014, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Athens to execute an agreement with the Southeast Ohio Public Energy Council for the purpose of jointly establishing and implementing an electricity aggregation program pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 4928.20 and declaring an emergency. This is introduced by all members of council. Do we have someone who would like to speak about that? Member Cochran, I thought maybe you would.
I move to adopt Ordinance 3014.
Second.
We've talked about this previously, and as I mentioned earlier, we had a public meeting last week to gather input as we begin forming SOPEC, or the Southeast Ohio Public Energy Council, for the purpose of electrical aggregation in the region. And there will be a second public meeting Thursday in Amesville if folks did not have the opportunity to attend the one here in Athens. So please see our websites for more information.
Comments? Questions? Okay. All those in favor of adoption, ordinance 3014, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ordinance is adopted. We'll move on to ordinances for second reading. Ordinance 3314, an ordinance closing a portion of Court, Union, Washington, and State Streets on Saturday, June 21st to 1 a.m. Saturday, June 21st to 1 a.m. on Sunday, June 22nd, 2014 for Boogie on the Bricks, a family music and arts festival, introduced by Councilmember Packard. Ordinance 3414, an ordinance establishing a glass-free drinking container zone during the Boogie on the Bricks Family Music and Arts Festival on Saturday, June 21st to 1 a.m. Sunday, June 22nd, 2014, also introduced by Councilmember Packard. Ordinance 3514, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code Title 7, Section 7.05.26B1, City Garage metered parking rates and regulations on Saturday, June 21st to 1 a.m. Sunday, June 22nd, 2014 for Boogie on the Bricks, a family music and arts festival. Also introduced by Councilmember Patton. Ordinance 3614, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting to allow vending in a designated area on June 21st and 22nd, 2014 during the Boogie on the Bricks Family Music and Arts Festival, introduced by Councilmember Pappy. And Ordinance 3714, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Section 13.04.10, unnecessary noise in the downtown area on June 21st, 2014 for Boogie on the Bricks, a family music and arts festival. Guess who introduced that? Councilman Pappy. So that's dealing with all of our ordinances. We have some other announcements and other business.
I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are having a transportation meeting at Engineering and Public Works Tuesday, tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. on Kern Street.
Okay. Any other announcements?
Thank you, Mr. President. The City and Safety Service Committee will be meeting Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, May 7th, here in the City Building. And another announcement is that there is a newly formed Armory Ad Hoc Committee that's comprised of citizens throughout Athens. And they will be holding their first meeting, which will be May 13th at 5:30 p.m., initially up at the Armory, but the bulk of the meeting will be here in the City Building as well to explore options for the Armory.
What time again? What was the time again?
5:30.
5:30 on May 13th, which is a Tuesday.
5:30 at the Armory.
Initially at the Armory, and then come back up here to the City Building.
Okay. Any other announcements?
Mr. President, I have one additional
Oh,
announcement.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to just add to what the mayor said about the Walk with the Doc program, which is locally sponsored by Live Healthy Appalachia, and they are also sponsoring an upcoming health summit next weekend, which will be May 16th and 17th at the community center. The first day is geared toward healthcare professionals, but the second day is open to anyone who wants to attend, and there'll be speakers on a range of topics, all geared toward healthy lifestyles. So for more information, you can look at livehealthyappalachia.org.
Are you walking with the dog?
I'll be walking with the doc, as will my children, and then we'll be riding in the bike rodeo. Come join us.
Any other announcements from council members? Or
Committees?
committee-
You got committees?
Any committees know that they want to meet?
Transportation.
Planning and Development.
Okay.
Finance and personnel.
Finance and personnel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
City and Safety.
Yep, so everybody's going to be covered of it. Okay. And then we have the opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items and city services that were not covered on our agenda. Doesn't look like anybody has anything. Okay. And so we will be adjourned, looks to me like right at 7:30.